Guys, welcome back to class. Sorry for being late today. Today is week 2, day 4. We're going to be looking at Canvas today. Okay, so what did we talk about yesterday, guys? We talked about different data types, how we need to manipulate our data types, how one of our data types is called an array and it will hold many different elements. Do you guys remember what we did yesterday? Well, we looked at the currency converter was one thing, right? And we also, wait for the number guessing game. We also had a guess history, okay? We had an array in memory, in this random thing called memory. What the hell does that mean? Okay? That means that inside of your RAM, random access memory, your computer was like remembering this variable called, guess history or something. And we manipulated that array to basically update our UI. And we're going to be doing some more of that today. So as you can see, this example is fruits. We define it as lets, and then it's just an array. We can tell from the brackets. We need to sometimes know how to get a certain element out of that array using bracket notation. We did the for loop for the currency converter, mapping over the array. I remember that was confusing. Maybe I should just do it. Whatever, to be honest with you guys, the for loop is not really that useful because in production JavaScript code, you're not going to be using the for loop. We're going to be using a different one, and I'll show you guys that later. I promise you, it's so much easier to think about. But this is the typical pattern that we take to map over elements in an array, okay? You're never ever gonna have an array and only want to do something with half of them, okay? Because the rule is you're always gonna be putting the same thing in the array. You're not gonna have like a bunch of different items that are different data types, that are different kinds, that like don't logically fit together. A people array will always have a bunch of objects that have a person in it. Each element will be a person. And eventually you guys will see that this will be movies or to-dos or blog posts or items for sale or photos or just anything. But you're never gonna have 99 photos and one person inside of an array. That being said, when all the items are the same, we need to produce the same behavior for every element in the array. And this will become apparent in the future. So push and pop remove items from an array. Let me just show you guys. Let's say we had an array of people. So we got Lloyd, we got Charles, okay? We can look at our array's length by doing people.length. We can look at the first element in the array by looking at people.0. Additionally, we can add people elements to the array. So if we look at people again, we see that people now has 3 elements. We can also unshift. I think that's how this works. Sometimes you don't remember. So that's why we need to do this. We need to be able to remember, we need to sometimes mess with our code inside of a browser. And you guys can see, what does unshift do? What did we just do with unshift? Yes, we added it to the front. So let's do people.pop. So we pop Chloe, and now Chloe's gone. Chloe, where'd you go? Pop just removes an element from the end of it. There are much more sophisticated use cases, but don't worry about these ones. These ones aren't as useful. I'll one day show you something magical called map, and I'll show you map right now, actually, now to think about it. Guys, how many items do we have in our array? What if we want to produce some behavior with each element? What can we do? The for loop, right? We could do for, let I equal 0, while I is less than people.length, And then we do I plus plus. Then what are we going to do in here? What are we going to do in here? This is console.log. People, I. So we're just mapping over this bad boy. And I think this should run. So now we see that Loy is printed twice and Charles once. Because what? Because the first two elements in our array was Loy. Right? So what if we also, so the simplest way to do this actually is just to run this. When you have an array, you can call this argument or this function on it called map. Okay? It's dot map. That's the simplest way that you can do it. Okay? What goes inside of here? What is inside of this function call? Remember when you guys see parentheses that this is a function call. Okay? This is a function call. So this function, your browser is actually telling you what it takes. It takes a callback function. And it's being explained right here. But just know that you never ever want to put a 1 in here, right? If you put a 1 in here, the browser will complain and say 1 is not a function. If you put a string in here, the browser will complain the string is not a function. If you put an array in here, the browser will complain that the array is not a function. Guys, what is a function? This is a function right here. Okay? This is the shortest you can make it. This is the syntax you have to memorize. Okay? This is what we call a callback function, an anonymous function, or an arrow function. It is one of three things at the same time, right? Arrow function. So do you see the arrow right here? Yeah. You do parentheses, you do the arrow, and then you do the curly braces right here. So what are we going to do now? I'm just going to const.log hi. And how many times will we see this printed? Is something wrong? What did I do wrong? Okay, I forgot something. There it is. So why did we see hi 3 times? Because when we run map, it runs that function, whatever is inside of its argument call, once for each element. Okay, we're gonna see that later next week. I'm sorry for talking about that right now. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Okay, don't worry. We're gonna do. Like there's a bunch to learn. Okay, guys. Okay, so there's a bunch of different ways to code, guys. Right? Today we're gonna learn about something called a rendering engine. Okay, so a rendering engine is going to just basically look at our variables and then place things on the screen based on those variables. And you guys can see from the examples of our games, right? Everyone here has opened up this the lab and looked at today's assignment, right? Week 2, Thursday. You guys see a bunch of examples here. Specifically though, I'm going to show you my example. And you guys can see that in the game, we can move our hero around. Hold on. And we have a high score right here, right? I got 22 before. And as the time expires, sorry. When the time expires, I can no longer move the hero. You guys see that? The clock stops and my score is updated in real time. I'm gonna refresh it and show you one more time, okay? My score right now is 6, the time is 0. When I refresh the page, you guys will see that the time goes back to 15. I can move around as much as I want and capture as many monsters as I can, right? And every single time I capture a monster, like it's at 5 now, I capture it, it's at 6, okay? And also notice that my high score was persisted across page loads, right? Right here, a little while ago, I scored 22. I refreshed the page, it's still 22, okay? So let me go ahead and reset this real quick. And we'll watch the behavior, okay? So I deleted the score. If you guys see me refresh the page, you'll notice that the score is gone. If I type in my name right here, let's just say primetime Tran. Now let's go ahead and play. I move around. Now you notice that the high score is the newest player, okay, right? I'm primetime Tran. I got a high score of 4. Let's just leave it at 4 right now. I'm about to run out of time. I can no longer move around. And it also tells us that it's game over. Okay? Do you have any questions so far?
How did you keep your item in the box?
Keep the character in the box?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna figure that out. That's what we're gonna demonstrate. Okay, this is what I built. I showed you what I built first to show you the simpler version that we're gonna clone. Okay, so
Are you caching things, keeping them on the page, or is that?
yes. So here, I'll go ahead and show you this technique too right now. So here's this is kind of complete. You guys have the freedom to build this game however you guys want. Okay, the main takeaway of today's learning lessons. I wish this course would update. 1 second. Where the fuck is Charles at? Okay, so anyway, I got a little off track. We're gonna build this game. The instructions here on the site. We have a version that we're going to clone. I'm gonna start right now. I'm gonna clone this bad boy. This is us walking into the door at a new company. Okay, we just got here. They told us to clone the repo, so we're gonna run git clone, paste, monster tag. We're cloning the repo. We're getting the code that our technical lead has already written for us. We move into the project, then we open up our code editor. Now, let's go ahead and run our server. And when we run our server, we can see that we have our game, but it's not complete yet. If I move too far off the left of the screen, I go off the screen. If I move too far to the right, obviously the same thing. All 4 sides. Also, whenever I capture the monster is actually just going to the the same way every time. It's just going the same way. It's so stupid. Yeah, our technical lead got busy, man. He got an investor. He got a girlfriend. He's got a bunch of other people in HR. Man, he doesn't have time to complete this. Okay, so he told us this is our job now. Okay, so we're gonna make this more complicated. We're gonna add a score. We're gonna add a timer. We're gonna add a username and persistent storage. Okay, persistent storage. So I'm going to show you right now what persistent storage is. So I want you to know that this console is where we can execute JavaScript code to affect our DOM. Okay. So document.write. If we wrote something, we can change the DOM. So if I do this, you notice that I just replace everything on the screen, right? And if we look at our elements, what do we have in there? Just hi. We deleted everything, right? Because we issued a JavaScript command. This is it's just magic. All this stuff went away, right? Look at what's inside the body now, right? We're just gonna write inside of it. And everything went away, okay? This is not the only command you can issue. There are many others. So we're gonna look at our application, and then we're gonna look at local storage, and this gets more complicated. But I'm going to just know that we can also issue commands which manipulate the storage on the computer. So I'm gonna do local storage.set item, and I'm gonna call this. What is this thing right here, guys? It's a function. Bailey is on point today. It is in fact a function. If you guys hover over it, it even tells you. See that little F? That little F is a special F right there, okay? And it doesn't mean fuck. It means function, okay? And it's telling you what arguments it expects. It's telling you it wants a key, it wants a value. It's literally telling you what it wants, okay? So we're gonna call this function, and we're gonna pass it what it wants. We're gonna say that the key is Sierra, and the value is Thuggin. I don't know, okay? And guys, watch what happens to your key over here, okay? So remember, I opened up the console, I clicked over to the application tab, I went to local storage here on the left, and then I looked at the URL, okay? So that's more complicated, but just know that this is the process. If I click enter, if I hit enter, you guys will notice that we have a key pop up here. And then we have a key popped up here, okay? This is like an object. We can call this key. So for example, if we call it with local storage.getItem, and then name the key that we want, we're gonna get something out. What are we gonna get out, guys? Thugging, correct, okay? Yeah, so we can stick things in it, we can get things out of it. Do you have any questions? Parsa, what did we just do? What do we do right here? Local storage as set item. We set Sierra as the first argument. We set Thuggin as the second argument. Someone help him out. What did we just do?
We saved our, we manipulate our local storage.
We manipulated local storage, right? How did we manipulate it?
We use the function set item.
With a key and a value.
With the key and a value, and what did that result in? Yeah, we manipulated our local storage object. We gave it a new key called Sierra, and its value was thugging. And then later on, we extracted the value. We called the key Sierra, right here, right? And then we grabbed out a key. Because we called this key, we got out the value thugging. Okay. Now I'm going to show you an example. This is amazingly useful. This is how you're going to make your lives easier. If we go to Facebook and we look at the same thing, I'm going to show you how many different keys that Facebook stores on your computer. This is a key that's stored on your computer. This is how you don't log in. This is how, again, when you log in one time, right? When you log in one time, this is how the computer remembers who you are, right? So that you don't have to log in again. Additionally, this is where you can stick stuff like images and stuff so that the computer loads faster the next time that the user comes to the page. Yes?
Is this offloading into like the RAM of your user's computer?
Say again?
Is this offloading into like the RAM of the user's computer?
This is actually what I was going to say a second ago. That's why I made a point of earlier saying that random access memory. No, this is actually like stored on the drive. If I restart my computer, this information will still be here. So this is also like, think about it. This is also how, like, for example, when you log into Facebook, right? The next time you go to facebook.com, you don't log back in, right? It's already persisted. You already like have logged in, so they don't ask you to log in again. This will get more complicated later, but I want you to know that's how we're.
Where is it stored? You said on a hard drive.
Yeah, somewhere on your hard drive. I don't know where. Somewhere. The computer does that, all that shit.
So this, that the local storage is for?
Say again?
So all those, key and values, it is what the local storage is for, to store your information.
Yes, that's exactly what it's for. There's no other purpose. This does not order us food. Okay, this is not foodie. This is not grab. This is not order us a car. This is for storing little snippets of data. So we can also stick in a 1. Oops, local storage get set item. Okay, that's set item. So inside now we have Bailey 1. Okay, but now I'm going to show you one more tricky thing. Okay, for more specific, sophisticated items, right? So let's just say that we had an item called person, and then we give it an object, and we say, let's just call it school. School, okay? We say name is Coder School, and then we say address is Mahai Tondan, okay? So we got an object named school. Let's just say we delete everything in here, okay, to make this clear. If we wanted to stick an object in there, we have to do an additional step. So we do local storage dot set item. When we call this, we can also name the key the same. We'll just say school. But when we stick in an object in here, we have to stringify. We have to do JSON.stringify. And then we pass this function call, the object. Let's just watch what happens if I don't do this, okay? I'm going to copy this. Oops. I'm going to copy this right now and do it without this, okay? What is stuck inside of here? It says object, right? But actually you cannot use it correctly. Look what happens whenever I try to grab it out. Local storage.get item. School. Now I cannot work with that. What was it before? Is this what is that? Let's do the type of. It's in fact a string. So we need to do some additional steps right here, okay? Now I'm going to run the same command, except I'm going to call it school2. Okay? So now we can do local storage. Local, I don't know why I keep looking up there. Get item school2. Oops. So there we go. Now we actually have what we need. A second ago, it was the wrong thing. Notice that. It just said object, but when we parsed it, it was not the right thing, right? So now we're not done yet. we need to do one more thing. We need to take this thing, whatever this is, and we do JSON.parse. And now we have an object that we can manipulate. Okay, so notice whenever we use a complicated object and we stick it in here, if we do not parse it, we get a string literal. This is called a string literal right here. It's in a bracket, the word object, and then a bracket. Whereas if we parse it, if we stringify it first, which is what I just showed you, right? If we stringify it first, we will get an actual object. And I guarantee, so I'm telling you guys that right now. I hope you guys remember. I'm scared some people won't. I don't know what to tell you. Okay? That's what JSON parse is for, the inverse, to taking the object out. When we take the object out of local storage, we need to use the JSON.parse command. Okay? But when we put it in, we need to use JSON.stringify command.
So it's only whole string.
Yes, this thing can only kind of like hold a string. It doesn't understand like exactly how an object works, so we need to run it some additional steps. We need to do some additional like work. This is our job as developers, to memorize little steps like this.
What does if I mean?
If I?
If like IFY.
IFY? I don't know.
Ending. It's used all over.
Stringify?
Yeah, like stringify.
Okay, stringify.
Spotify. Like, why that?
I don't know, man. I think you don't. You're from England. You tell me. I don't know.
It's not English. Like, you never ended anything like that. You know that.
I don't know.
I feel like there is some reason they all end with if I.
I don't know. Okay, so I don't want to get off too far off point. Yeah. Sorry. We gotta get focused here. Okay. So I told you. So what are we talking about? We talked about local storage, putting items in, taking them out. Okay. We've also talked about how to access them using keys and values, and we've also talked about how to stick in more sophisticated items. Okay. When we want to stick in something that's super sophisticated, we need to parse it. Okay. So remember, this is the shitty game that was already built. Where was it at? This one right here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and work on this now. So, if you guys open up the project that you guys cloned, right, you guys will see that this is our HTML. As we get better at JavaScript, we're gonna write a lot less HTML. Okay, we're gonna be. Actually, never mind, I lied. You're probably still gonna be writing HTML, but you should be writing less because you're gonna become more pro. I promise you, show you guys this upcoming week. Okay. Like how we can write a lot less HTML using JavaScript. So in this code, you guys, the most important file that you get cloned is game.js. Okay, you guys can see that up top, towards the top, on lines 13 and 14, we define two variables, canvas and ctx. Okay, canvas is this magical thing that's going to be stuck in the screen, and we stick it in the screen on line 20. We also define some additional variables that we're going to use momentarily. So far, the game consists of 6 functions. I want to say 6 functions. Think about this. So at the very bottom, this is something I like doing when I'm cloning a new project. Okay, so I hope this is updated. Hold on. A part of our as developers is to look at code and figure out what's going on. Okay, whoever they hire you or whoever, they don't have time to explain it to you. Or maybe the person who wrote it, right, has quit the job. You know, that's a real reality that occurs, okay? So if you want to go over there and be able to deliver production code, man, you guys gotta be able to read the code that someone else wrote and figure out what's going on by fucking with the values. Just fuck with the values for a little bit and figure out what's going on, okay? But the first thing you should do before that is just go to the code and read it. Go to the very bottom and see what function call that we have. So we can see that the very last line we call a function called main. Main is defined right above it on line 147 through 153. Main is going to run update and render, and then an additional function right here. There's a comment that has been left for us. Let's see who told us who left this comment. So we can see that this guy named Charles Lee 7 months ago made an initial commit with the README and a boilerplate code setup. I wish the commit request would have been more specific, but that's okay, right? We can always talk to him. So let's look at what the update does. You know, it updates the game, changes player position based on the key pressed. Nice. Okay. So if we copy elapsed time, we do console.log below. Let's just look at this. And you guys can see how quickly your computer is thinking. Every single second is just like, fucking super shit ton of calculations. This doesn't even count. This is just the one game. Think about what your computers think about, like rendering the browser, the alt tab, like your playlist, your music, just a bunch of different things going on. This tab, etc. Okay? This is what's known as a rendering engine. When we get to React in 2 weeks, we're gonna learn more about this in detail. Just know that this is a pattern that has inspired. This is a pattern that was inspired by video games and how video games are played, are produced, right? Like we're gonna look at some variables, and depending on those variables, we're gonna draw the screen. Okay, so you just see that. Additionally, we have this thing called setup keyboard event, keyboard listeners. Okay, all this is doing is making sure that we understand what key it is that we're pressing, right? Like we're paying attention to what keys are being pressed, and we call this right before main, and right before that we look at load images. This is where we collect all our assets and we stick them on the screen so that we can use them later on, including our monster image as well as our hero image. Do you have any questions so far, guys? Any questions, anyone? So we've just loaded images. Our render engine is just constantly running. It's looking at our variables, and based on those variables, it's drawing stuff on the screen. Okay? Okay, so how can we look at, so I'm gonna tell you right now, like what your technical lead can do, right, is just think about what I'm doing right now. They're gonna take like 30 minutes one day and just walk you through the code and ask you if you guys have any questions, blah, blah, and hope that you guys are paying attention. So right now, I'm gonna throw in a console log on line 115.
Lloyd, it says plus 32.
What's plus 32?
32 pixels big, okay.
This thing right here?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question?
It says monster x plus 32, but that's because our images are 32 pixels big, so you need to add 32 for it. It's basically math, right?
Yes, this is math right here, yep. Exactly. Okay, so elapsed, hold on. Let me go ahead and delete something real quick. What? Why did it say elapsed time? 1 second, guys, not bad. So you guys notice here on line 115, I'm console logging keys down. Keys line is a variable we define on line 73, okay? What type of variable is this, guys? What type of data is this? Yes, it's an object. Okay, so let's just look at what happens right here. Damn, man, I'm too elapsed. Okay, there, let me delete this. I'm polluting our log. So you guys notice if I start pressing around that, look how this object changes. Okay, I'm pressing keys, the arrows, right? And my hero is moving based on that, right? So by looking at this object, we can determine what keys that the user is pressing. And what Mai just said a second ago, there is a function here, not a function, there's a conditional which is checking to see whether or not we've touched the monster. So I'm gonna prove that to you. Okay, on line 120, we're going to run a console log and it just says touch the monster. This conditional right here on lines 114 through 119 is what's checking to see whether or not we've caught the monster. So let's check our behavior. I'm gonna console log out this, I'm gonna comment out line 113 so we don't see this get polluted, our console log. We're gonna move around, we're gonna catch it. And you guys notice that we do in fact capture the monster. Any questions so far?
Can you explain the 4 lines of code about that?
This one right here?
Yeah, so like hero is greater than or equal to monster plus 32.
So these are variables. So these are variables that we define on line 161, right? And it's just basically where we draw the image, or it's just where this determines where the hero is. Okay, this determines where the hero is.
On each axis, X and Y.
Exactly. That's why I was gonna demonstrate in just a few moments. Yeah, it's okay. So right now I'm telling you, look for this piece of code. Read the comments, man. This guy Charles, he wrote a comment for you. I promise you, he wrote it for you. Look, says so right here. Get's telling you that he wrote it for you. What does he want you guys to do with this comment, guys? Yes, he wants you to read it. Okay, so this guy Charles is pretty pro, but I don't like this code. So I'm gonna define a new variable. I'm gonna say has caught monster. And I'm gonna paste that there. I'm gonna stick this here in this conditional. And now I feel like my conditional is a bit more clear on what's going on. If has caught monster, maybe this one might be a better one. If hero has caught monster, then we'll console log, okay? And that's why I want you guys to name a bunch of variables. Make it mini variables, okay? I want it to be just like your girlfriends. I want you to have a bunch of them, okay? And many different kinds, okay? One tall, one short, and one from Korea in America, okay? I'm just kidding. But what I am saying, it's okay to define new variables, okay? Define new variables to make your code more explicit. Explain what's going on in the application. So a second ago, we had these 4 things and no one really knew what it was. But because we defined a new variable and we stuck it inside the conditional, our code became more clear. And I'm gonna prove it one more time, okay guys? On line 119, go, touch the monster. So we're gonna move around, we touch it, and we see that this thing logs, okay? So now, the question becomes, the question becomes, how can we make it so that the character, when you move off the right, he goes, he appears back here on the left. So what Ed said a second ago is that there's an XY axis. So let's just go ahead and look at these values real quick. So now I'm going to say console.log hero x. And so you guys see, this is my hero X. As the render engine is rendering, it's constantly logging my hero X. If I move left, what happens to the number? Yeah, so once I get off the side of the screen, it's gonna go to negative something, right? So let's just test this, okay? We'll say if hero X is what? Less than or equal to 0, then we're gonna put hero X at 100. All right, so what was the code here, guys? I'm sorry, I moved too quick. On line 113, 114, the code says what? If the hero's X is less than 0, we're gonna replace hero X with 100, okay? And what's happening right now? If I move right, is my number getting smaller or bigger? Okay, so which way do I need to go? Okay. If I'm testing this now, and what is the expectation? If I go left, what is the expectation?
When you hit the side, you're gonna bounce to 100.
Okay, exactly.
Is it pixels? How is the?
This is just an integer right now, okay? So some of you guys are right. Yeah, I expect that if I move off the left, he's just gonna suddenly appear somewhere on the right. Okay, nice. Okay, so we got a funky looking game. This is interesting.
But no, if you just hit to 0, it should stay there, right?
I don't know. It depends on what you guys want to do. So that's one way. You guys. That's why I want you guys to be creative, man. This is a part of your job as I always talk about your job. I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say is like, if you want to be a fucking rock star developer, you guys got to figure out how to build some shit that no one's ever seen before. Like come up with some shit that.
They would say whatever the furthest one over is. On Pac-Man, you go through and you turn up the other side of the wall.
Yeah. So I kind of looked at it as like asteroids, right? This is common. You can do it however you want, right? I like the behavior where I showed you a second ago, where like this mine. I like this behavior. I kind of like it. Yeah. It was okay with me, but obviously it's not perfect. I don't know. You can stop the hero, right? That's okay. That doesn't bother me at all. You do that. So for example, if they got to 0, if you want to just stop the hero, let's just set the heroes at X, okay? So then we're gonna say if 0. It's up to you guys. You guys be creative, okay? You guys do it however you want. I don't even care.
Also depends on what the game is.
Exactly. So now we're gonna go do the opposite way, okay? So we're gonna do canvas. If the hero's X is greater than or equal to canvas.width, we're gonna put the hero at 0. Is it 0? Now I'm confused. If it's greater than, yeah, I think it's 0. Yeah. See? Because if we're saying if the hero goes further than the right of the canvas, start him back at the 0.
If you do that, it will stay there. Yeah.
Okay, so let's fix this. Right? We can fix this. We just gotta fuck with our variables a little bit. Now we have the hero going off both sides of the screen. Nice.
Can you explain that part?
Because remember, we first did the hero X. Let's go ahead and delete this. Okay. So right now we have hero X. If the hero's X is less than or equal to 0, right? Notice how when we move it to left, right? It becomes smaller. Once it gets to 0, we just put them back 100 pixels, right? So now we're gonna say, I don't want to hard code this. I don't know how big the canvas is gonna be, so I'm just gonna do canvas.width. Okay. We're gonna do it. There you go. So it's however wide this is. How wide is this? I don't know, to be honest with you. Fine, we can Google it, or we can just test it, okay? So the canvas is exactly 512 pixels. I don't know, I said something really stupid right there. I do know how wide it is. It says so right here. I don't know why I said that, okay? So just 512 pixels is how big it is. So anyway, we're gonna do, we have a little bit of a bug there, so I have to throw in a -10. So, and then right here, we're gonna do canvas.width. Okay, so we're gonna do the inverse. This is what we call the inverse, okay? Right now, if the heroes less than or equal to 0, we're gonna put them at the end of the canvas, and then, so that, you know.
So you've got two rules.
Yeah, so these are two different rules.
The left-hand side, the bottom one is the right.
Hero going left off screen, and this one's gonna be hero going right off screen, okay? So we're gonna say if the hero's x is greater than or equal to the canvas.width, we're just gonna put it back at 0, okay? So now let's test, move right, it moves to the very 0, right? Isn't that 0? Let's go and check whether or not this is 0. Okay, so we're gonna go right, is that 0? Kind of 0. Moving, and it starts off, okay? There's a little bit of a bug here.
If you touch the monster right now, what is it gonna say in the console log?
I think we should focus on the hero right now until we fully understand how to manipulate the hero.
Okay.
Right? So we're gonna talk, obviously we need to talk about that in a few moments, but right now we need to understand how to move the hero. Okay? It's based on this little variable called hero x. And it's based on a conditional. We look at the hero x, if it's what? If it's a certain number, we move it to a certain number. Okay? So now the question becomes, how can we do the same thing for the y? And what am I gonna tell you guys? What am I prepared to do right now? Yes, I'm gonna copy and paste this motherfucker down. Okay, we're gonna say hero going up off screen, and do it down off screen. Okay, so now I actually don't know what our axis is. We're going to look at our variables. Okay, so let's look at our hero y. So if I go up. Okay, so we can see that the very top of it is 0, right? A second ago, the left was 0, but on the y-axis, I broke something.
Because you copy pasted twice, it's probably the same.
Oh yeah, I fucked something up. Okay, okay. Good job, man. Thank you. Okay, thank you, man. Fuck. Amazing. I'm happy you're here, man. Okay, so we're going up, and you guys notice that when we cross the opposite edge, it's 0. The top edge is 0. When we go down, I don't know what it is. We can just look at it. Remember, guys, we can look at the canvas.height right here, 480 pixels. So we're going to uncomment this, and we're going to make our adjustments. Okay. So can someone help me out? If we're going up off the screen, right? How can we determine whether or not they've made it to the very top? What do we need to change here? We need to change this to a y, right? Change that to y, because if the hero, as you're going up in your mind, like as the hero's moving up, the number of their y is getting smaller. So when they cross the top of the canvas, they're in the negative range, right? So now we're gonna say, okay, if the hero's y is smaller than or equal to 0, we're gonna say that their hero's y is now the canvas.height. So if I move up, we fix that problem. Okay, so let's do the one more, okay? If we go left, we start on the right. If we go on the right, we start on the left. If we go up, we go to the bottom. Okay? So now we can do the hero x, or no, we can do the last part. We're just gonna change out the x to a y. So if the hero's y is what? Is greater than or equal to the canvas.height, then where are we going to put them? 0. So we test it. Nice. Oops. So this one, there's a little bit of a bug where sometimes you have to do -10 somewhere, because like it'll stop it prematurely. It'll stop it too quickly. There's like one little overlap. So I just tell you the solution. Just do -10. It's not perfect, but there's so much more we got to do.
How do you mean by overlap? You mean
It's just like there's like a little padding or margin where like we stopped the hero too early almost. I think that's my guess. I don't know. This is how I fixed it.
Because I didn't really notice.
So here, watch me delete this negative 10 right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I delete this negative 10 right here on the hero Y, if I go up now, it kind of stops it. So let me see if I can do 1 right here. That work?
You just couldn't keep going.
Yeah, it's just stopping me. I'm not really sure. I haven't really fixed this yet. I'm really confused, to be honest with you. I don't know. This is how I figured out how to fix it. Sometimes that's literally what programming is, man. We're just fucking with values a little bit. So I'm just doing negative 10. I promise you this works. So if I go up, it kind of like grabs it sooner or something. Oh, because, yeah, it starts it off like a little bit below the screen. Okay, so that's it. So we figured out how to move the hero around the screen, and we see that whenever we touch the hero, that the monster moves. So now we need to think. Actually, we don't need to think. We just need to read the code that we wrote a second ago. Hero has caught monster. You guys can see that whenever we catch the hero, we're simply doing what on line 142? We're changing a variable, right? We're changing our monster X variable by what? Adding 50 and adding 70 every single fucking time, which is kind of stupid, right? You know? So what can we do, guys? How can we randomly generate a number? Math.floor, random, I forgot. Random. We call math.random. It gives us a float. So we copy it. Now we're gonna do math.floor. And we're gonna say, math.
Is it possible for it to go? Can you have a point of a pixel?
Yes, I think so. I think it would just round. I don't know, to be honest with you. Who here wants to build games? Does anyone here want to build games? Does that sound fun to anyone? I don't like building games that much. I want to build mobile apps. Okay, whatever. So you guys are gonna have fun with this, guys. You've seen examples. Let me do some research on that one for you, okay? I personally don't like building games as much as I do other things. So we're gonna do math.random times canvas.height plus 1. Okay, so I think this will randomly place us on a y-axis, okay? So we're gonna replace this right here. You guys just saw me test it in the console first to make sure I got it right. I want you guys to do that, man. Okay, so now when we catch the hero, I suspect that the hero, or when I catch the monster, I suspect that the monster will randomly move on the y-axis. Oops. There he goes. Did that work, guys? Remember what he was doing a second ago? Does that work? Yeah?
But he's still not locked.
He's somewhere around here. He's somewhere off the edge, just barely off the edge. I think he's right there. I don't know.
No, he's gone. He's gone because you're stuck. He's 50 off on the x-axis.
Yeah, something like that. Let's do -10. Something like that. Anyway, he's jumping around on the y-axis, guys. So how can we get him to jump around on the x-axis? Yes. Oh my God, you guys are geniuses. Okay. Except we're obviously going to change this to width. Okay. Okay. Gonna save. We're gonna move him around, and now you can see him just jumping around all over the place. You guys feel free to build this however you want, however you think it's sexy. We gave you a couple things that can give you some ideas. We've just covered how to move the hero around, how to know when we captured the monster, how to randomly place the monster. I'm now going to show you one more thing, and then we're going to break. Okay, so we don't have a variable called score, so we're just going to introduce it. We're going to say score equals 0. Okay? Now we're going to jump around. We're going to kind of scan a little bit, and we're going to go find that place on line 143 where we said hero has caught monster. We're going to say score is plus equal 1. Okay? And on the very next line, I'm just going to console.log it. Not in the very next line. A couple lines down. I'm going to console.log it. So let's just see. Let's go ahead and comment this out. I don't want to fuck with our. I want to remove this so it's clear. And you guys can see that when we capture the monster, we get a score of 1. We get a score of 2, 3, 4. Okay, guys. So I've been talking now for 45 minutes. I've shown you how to move the hero around, how to get them to go to where we need. That we're constantly doing what? We're looking at a keys down through event listeners, right? We set up some event listeners at the bottom, and there's some additional code. Don't touch too much of this code, okay? Just add variables and then like fuck around with the numbers a little bit, and you guys will get a feel for it. Does anyone have any questions? Can I share my code?
Yeah.
The one that I just wrote?
Yeah, just so we can have a look at it and then just figure it.
It's on the lab.
Yes, but let him modify it. Yeah.
Fine.
This is not going to make everyone's code already finished though, if you do that. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna create a new project. You guys can look at it, fine. But I want you guys to write your own code, okay? Make something different. I'm gonna be fucking pissed if you guys don't build something yourselves. So I'm creating one, I'm gonna call this one Sierra Monster Catch. Okay? This is black magic, guys. What am I doing right now? Is this black magic on GitHub? No. We're just running some fucking commands that we memorized. Okay? So now I do git remote -v. I don't see it. Oops. Okay, we'll do git remote -v. Why do I not see it? Because I just removed it a second ago. I'm gonna run this command. Now do git remote -v. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna do git add all, git commit, update for 2.4 Sierra. I'm gonna do git push origin master. Okay, so I should see momentarily, refresh this. You should see my project that we just built this morning. Bam. If we look at our commits, guys, you guys can see what? That Charles on March 8th did some stuff, okay? And then just a second ago, Lloyd Tran, or no, my bad, this guy named Primetime Tran, he made this update for 2.4 Sierra. If we click this commit, you guys can just compare them side by side. You can see how the code changed, how the code evolved, okay? So you guys can look at this, and this will give you an idea of like what you guys need to do. Do you have any more questions? Yes. This thing right here? Which ones? This one right here? These are just a little bit of math right here, right? So for example, we're saying, hey, if the monster's X is, we're just seeing whether or not they touched each other on the hero axis, on the Y axis right here. We're saying, hey, have you touched yourself? Have you touched yourself? Have you touched the monster? Okay, hold on. Have you touched the monster?
You're saying hero X, so the position of hero on X.
On the X axis.
If it's equal to, or no, less than or equal to monster's X plus 32.
32 is like margin.
32 here is actually the image of the picture.
Within 32 pixels of it.
Like they close to
Yeah, about. It just means like about here, okay?
You don't have to be right. So you have to create some basically a fill for that.
The number, it's almost never going to be 1-to-1. You just want it within 32 pixels because the image is 32 pixels. Okay? That's all it means. Within 32 pixels because the image is 32 pixels. So when the user sees that they've touched, regardless of whether or not the exact 2 points are touching, we will have that as a condition that they've touched.
Yeah, you don't have to match pixel to pixel because otherwise that'd be quite hard with your keyboard, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a
One pixels, yeah.
That'd be like, I'm on it, but
Yeah. Exactly. All right, so do you have any more questions, guys? I've been talking 50 minutes. Do you guys like it when we have shorter lectures? I remember my last class talked about that a lot. They don't want me talking too long. For real, I swear to God, you think I'm joking?
I don't mind lots of short ones, it's good.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to do. So you guys go ahead and clone the repository. Get this working.